So yeah, looks like we are live. Yeah, we're live right now.
I
Sweet.
see it. Oh,
I just have to make sure I can hear your audio.
yep. We got audio.
Alrighty. So should I count us down?
Count it down and we can rock.
3, 2, 1, record.
Howdy, everybody, and welcome to Off the Cut episode 16, which is respectfully dedicated to the food of the day, macaroons.
Okay, yes, the almond-based pastry.
Something like that. But I know up in Canada, today is better known as Tuesday, May 31st, 2022. Almost
uh,
getting through another month.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy, man. This is the worst part about getting older is that time flies.
Oh my
Like,
God, I know.
are you getting the nice weather down in Ohio now?
Oh, it was like 95 today.
Yeah, it was a scorcher
She
here
was a
too.
steamer.
Yeah. But it's like I don't know about you, but I'm a warm weather type of guy, and I really look forward to the warmer months, but I realize like June rolls around, you're like, oh no, I only have 90 more days of this. And now that
Uh-huh.
I'm an adult, time flies. Like
Uh-huh.
that's gonna be over in a blink of an eye. So
Uh-huh. But you know
s-
what doesn't fly?
what's that?
Making macaroons.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure you have to say it with a pretentious accent.
Oh,
It's
like my mom when
yeah,
she says
macaron.
French food?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what she says.
Yeah,
She's like
yeah.
macaron or something like that. I was
Yeah.
like,
We
Mom, you spent like a week in France when you were 6.
my girlfriend and I used to live like around the corner from a store that only sold macaroons, whatever you want to say it. Like that was like the only thing they sold. Like every color of the rainbow, you would walk in. And they would have just like it would start like pink on one wall, and then it would
Yeah.
just slowly gradiate over to like what's your I'm trying to look at the pink on the right
This
and then blue on the
flag.
left. Yeah, I'm looking at
Oh,
your
yeah,
flag in
yeah.
the background.
I don't know. Oh, speaking of that, hold on. I got a good one for people.
Oh.
If you're watching on YouTube,
Hmm.
you can see all these episodes before they come out because we were busy this weekend and like today is May 31st and we still haven't put out the episode for last week yet.
I
So
was
if you
gonna.
want to if you want to watch it soon, get on
Yeah,
YouTube.
YouTube is the way to watch. It's a
I'm
live
on
stream.
spaceship,
Oh, now
baby.
you're on a spaceship. I was gonna bust your balls a little bit and ask you. I assume you were very busy this weekend because I texted you on Saturday or Sunday, and I didn't hear
Yeah.
back from you until yesterday or today.
Yeah, so my one of my buddies, his family's got a lake house.
Ooh,
And
nice.
yeah, so here's the thing. We go there and we have a great time,
Hmm.
but the payment for going there
Right.
is tons of chores.
Yes.
So it's like I'm happy to help out and do that stuff.
Hmm.
But people are like, "Oh man, the whole weekend just like drinking, sitting by the water." It's
Yeah.
like, yes
Mm,
and no.
a little bit of chopping firewood, a little
Yeah.
bit of like gardening.
But they are completely demolishing their house. So right
Oh.
now it's just like a concrete floor with a couple footers
Hmm.
and like you can see the trusses. There's no roof, there's nothing there right now.
Wow, crazy. So where did you stay when you were there? Like in tents or
Tents. Yeah, we
cool?
had tents, which was kind of fun for a couple
Yeah.
days. But after the end, you're like, all
Yeah,
right,
you're
I'm
like,
done with this.
I'm ready for like indoor plumbing and
Yeah.
heating
Oh,
and air
we had to
conditioning.
shower with a bucket
Nice, nice.
and then they had just got a toilet like plumbed a couple hours before we got there,
Okay.
but there was no running water, so we had to run a hose from the
Oh
neighbor's
yeah.
house and fill up the top bowl.
Yes, yes. Little pro tip for everybody at home. You can like flush a toilet with just a bucket. Like say your
Yeah,
toilet's broken or whatever, you just pour a bunch of water in the bowl. It'll flush.
yeah, because it's gravity. It's something by
Yeah.
gravity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
that was
love
very interesting.
have you ever been to like a developing country and you go to a bathroom and there's no like bowl on the back of the toilet? It's just like literally like the lower half of the toilet.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you encounter that a little bit if you go traveling.
They have those a lot of times at like national parks too.
Oh, really? I don't know if I've
Hmm.
ever seen that. Interesting. Interesting.
They're like the compost toilets or whatever, where they throw a bunch of stuff in there and
Gotcha.
like a
Gotcha.
bunch of enzymes that
Yeah.
eat all the nonsense.
I was looking into every once in a while I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna get rid of the apartment and I'm gonna live in an RV. So I was like exploring like all the different options for like like composting toilets in RVs. I was
Hmm.
like, hey, okay, if I gotta do this, like how long can I go? But just
Yeah,
the
yeah,
idea of having like a sealed box with your like waste in it, not attractive to
yeah.
me. I'm
So
sure it's got good seals and all that, but still not fun.
yeah, I got two friends that both bought like mobile residences.
Yes.
One complete opposite spectrum. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So one of my buddies bought like a brand new like travel trailer.
Mhm.
So one of those that you haul and then like the little like sides kind of like pop
Yeah.
out,
Yeah, that's
and
what
but
I
it's
was looking
got
at.
full plumbing and
Yeah.
everything. Um he has just your three water tanks. So you have your fresh water, your gray water, which
Hmm.
is like what you use to like run your sink or whatever in your
Hmm.
shower, and then you have your black water, which would be like your toilet water, right?
Yeah.
So it goes in a massive tank, and then you basically take it to like your campsite, and then it's gravity fed and effectively just like sucks it out.
Yeah.
So he does that, and he said it's not too bad.
Yeah. I assume
And
if you have like a newer model, it's probably pretty well figured out at this point.
yeah, I've got to imagine it's. I think I'm pretty sure it was brand new or had like 1 year on it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
within the last 5 years it was made.
Yeah.
But
Uh
then my other friend
mhm.
bought a school bus,
Ooh.
and so when she bought it, the person who had it prior had partially converted it. I would
Yeah.
say it was livable,
Okay.
but not done.
Okay.
So like 80, 75, 80% of the way.
Mhm.
And her toilet is compost.
Yeah.
So she was trying to describe it to me. It has like this like triangulation system in it somehow. So like
Mhm.
when you pee, that goes like towards the front, and it kind of like
Oh.
separates that from the waste.
Oh, interesting.
And then you can just like pour the pee out, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because you wouldn't want to like. There's probably a lot of needless weight there. Like you can just pour
Yeah.
that out in your like the backyard or wherever you are.
Yeah. I don't
Uh,
know. I've never stayed with her on that bus,
yeah.
but
I,
it's definitely interesting.
Is it does it have a like a wood fire stove in it? I feel like every bus conversion has a wood fire stove.
No, she has an like a hot plate,
Oh
like
yeah, okay.
electric hot plate.
But that's enough to like keep her heated too.
Oh, for air conditioning, she has one of those small units. It's about the same size as like a dehumidifier.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So it's like, I don't know what, 3 feet by 2 feet by 2 feet roughly.
Sure, sure.
That's like 6 kilometers, I think,
Very
for
yeah.
everybody
Yeah, the math's a little
overseas.
fuzzy, but that's
Yeah,
about right.
roughly. But that does her heating and cooling.
That's
And
cool.
she said it was like she ran it one time in the winter, and it was so hot in there that she had to open the windows.
Oh wow. I mean,
So
if
it works well.
you'd be surprised how easy it is to heat a space, provided it's well insulated.
Yes.
Not that you would know anything about that with your with your
No, I
shop.
know nothing about insulation in the garage. Oh my god. Dude,
um.
I was out in the garage today,
Oh, smart.
and it was 111 degrees.
Oh man.
And this was at like 10 in the morning.
Yeah. It was 85 in my shop today. I know because my even though I use Celsius for everything, the damn thermostat in the garage is in Fahrenheit. So it was
Okay.
85 today. I was like, this is too hot. So I can only imagine what you were
So what's
30 degrees warmer.
110 Fahrenheit to Celsius?
That's like
I'm gonna say like
35.
35,
Yeah, that's about
43.
43. Oh my god. You might have may as well have like burst into flames.
I felt like it, dude.
Hmm.
I was losing my damn mind over the past couple days. So I know last week we talked about me making this dining table, right? Solid
Mm-hmm.
wood dining table.
Yeah.
And like milling that wood was just the biggest pain in the ass ever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. And did you get the walnut dust is like sticky too when you're sweating?
Oh,
It like stains your skin.
yeah. I came out of the garage and like, man, I got a good base tan going on
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I got the wood milled, flat, everything like
Hmm.
that. And then I'm like, I'm 100% using dominoes in this table glue up because they're so long. If you have
Yeah.
any inconsistencies
Yeah.
of like where the boards are meeting up, it's just going to be a disaster, right?
Yeah.
So got the dominoes in, and then I was thinking, Well, instead of trying to glue up 5 boards at once that are 7 feet long,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do 3 boards and 2 boards.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Then once that's dry, glue those 2 pieces up.
Yeah.
So those initial glue ups went fine, no issues at all.
Hmm.
Then, for whatever reason, when I went to get the final 2 together, I guess I didn't look at my sustainer where I have all like the dominoes in there
Hmm.
because they're like labeled like, oh, this one is like this thickness, this length, or whatever.
Okay.
I guess I just grabbed the wrong ones and put them in one side, applied to glue everything, and then went to go push
Oh
the 2
no.
halves together.
Yeah.
And granted, it's solid walnut, 7 feet long, inch and a half thick. I'm by myself. This is heavy, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I go clamp everything, and I'm cranking down the clamps, and I was like, why is there like a eighth inch gap? Like, what is going on here? And I'm swearing, I'm getting so mad, so fired up. And then I just say, F this. I'm just gonna pull this apart,
Hmm.
let it dry. And then because this was like right before I was going to my buddy's house for the
Yeah. Yeah.
weekend. So I was gonna try to get it done for the weekend,
Hmm.
but I used the wrong damn dominoes. They were
So
too long.
okay, so the dominoes are different lengths, correct? So
Yes.
you
Different
can
lengths and thicknesses.
okay, so keep in mind I've never used a domino before because
Yeah,
I'm a filthy heathen. Um, the length is variable, and also the width of
correct.
it is variable too.
Correct.
And you can
Correct.
adjust that. Like the domino will do. Like why doesn't the domino just do once? Why isn't it like a one size all fit
It's a great
approach?
question. So there are 3 adjustments that you can do.
Hmm.
You can do the width of the I should say you can do the height or thickness of the domino.
That I understand. Like you might want to adjust it up and down for different thicknesses of materials, right?
Yeah.
Like I guess ideally you're hitting it right in the middle of your wood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that is controlled by the size of the bit that you use. So think of like you're
Okay.
drilling a hole. A quarter-inch drill bit is going to be a smaller hole
Mhm.
than a half-inch drill bit, right?
Mhm.
So that is controlled by the domino bit that you use.
Yep.
You can use in mine, I can do a 4 millimeter, 5 millimeter, 6 millimeter,
Oh, it's all in
eight
millimeters. That must drive you
eight
nuts.
millimeter, and 10 millimeter,
Okay.
I think. Okay. And then you can pick the width or like the side to side. That is to either make the domino really tight. So when you put the
Mhm.
domino in that has 0 side to side play,
Okay.
which is really important if you're trying to get horizontal surfaces perfect. So maybe
Yep.
you're making like a rail and style door
Yep.
that would make the ends of them perfectly touching.
Understood. Okay, understood.
But then you can also do a setting. A lot of people will call it like the slop or the looseness setting.
Yeah.
That'll basically, the way the domino works is like the drill bit wiggles side to side, and you can basically control how much it wiggles side to side.
Mhm.
Um, So that is really good for like when you're gluing up panels because you'll make sure that your panels are aligned with each other,
Yeah.
but you don't really care if they slide right to left,
Yeah,
right?
sure. You cut off the ends with the track saw or whatever, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that way, that'll allow you to just slap things together and not have to get them like dead on.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
And then the depth.
yeah, and then the depth would be like the length of
Mhm.
the domino that you use.
And I guess theoretically like a longer domino, a little bit stronger or
Yeah, but think of it with like, say you're trying to do like a butt joint of half-inch
yeah,
plywood.
true.
You would want a really short domino there,
Yes. Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then if you're doing like a big table base, you'd probably want like the biggest, longest domino you can get in
Mhm.
there.
Mhm. So
So
the dominoes, when you buy them, do they have different widths of dominoes or just different lengths,
different lengths,
but not different widths?
correct.
Okay, okay, okay.
So
That
you
makes
have
sense.
different heights or thicknesses and
Yeah.
then different lengths. The
Okay.
widths are always the same.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. That was very
Yeah,
informative, and I feel
there's a
like I
lot to
understand.
go.
Yeah.
But so the extent of explaining that is that I used the wrong length domino. I
Yes.
used
Yes.
a 8 by 50, which is an 8 millimeter cutter with 50 millimeters of length,
Mm-hmm.
but I had only plunge the domino 20 miller 20 millimeters on each side. So I sort of used a 40 millimeter length tenon. So
Gotcha.
I had a 10 millimeter gap.
Yes, yeah. So was that because you grabbed the wrong dominoes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. I was gonna.
I grabbed them out of the sustainer that holds them all, and I like put the glue in. I was like, oh God, get him in, get him in, get him in.
Okay, so I have another domino question for you.
Yeah.
There's a standard size domino and there's a domino XL, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Does the domino XL give you a wider range of potential cuts? Like,
So the Domino XL can't do really small things.
yeah, that makes sense.
So
Okay.
I think the smallest bit that the Domino XL takes is the 8 millimeter bit,
Mm-hmm.
which is already pretty big.
Yeah, yeah,
So most people, unless you were building like super bulky, like bunk beds and massive tables,
yeah.
are going to go with the smaller Domino 500 every day.
Okay, so that's a good tip actually, because I might have just been at the store and be like, well, I'll just get the XL because bigger's better
Yeah.
in a lot of
And the
cases.
XL is substantially heavier.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like 3 times as heavy.
It's a beast, man. It's like I've seen pictures of people. It looks like somebody's lifting up like a car transmission or something.
Yeah. So what would you perceive yourself as using the Domino most for? Like just ripping together table bases for joinery and stuff like that?
Table bases for joinery, definitely. Like what you're doing. Like if I was going to do big dining table, I would
Yeah.
probably use it there. I think just like yeah, like the table bases. It's like being able to like connect things at right angles would be really handy. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 For that, the regular 500 is the regular size one.
This is the
You will
way to
be
go.
more than happy with it.
Okay. Okay. Good to
Because
know.
you can always double up tenons.
Right.
So you could do like, 2 side by side.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's going to be plenty strong.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's surprising how strong those little dowels are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not much wood, and it's kind of a soft wood too, isn't it? Do you know what it's made of, or is it a composite material?
The tenons, the domino tenons
Yeah.
themselves, they're made out of beech wood,
Okay. Okay.
and then they also make mahogany ones
Hmm.
that they recommend if you're doing outdoor furniture,
Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't know mahogany was a particularly good
or
exterior.
maybe like sapelli or whatever the hell they
Yeah.
call it.
Yeah. Sapelli, I know, is really oily, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very similar
Ooh,
color.
I just realized
Uh oh.
we have to thank our new patrons.
Oh, we got new patrons. Oh man, I haven't been on the Patreon page in a bit.
Our new patrons this week are you. Yes, you could have your name. You see how smooth that was?
Oh yes, that was very.
You could have your name read right here in the next show
Mm-hmm.
by supporting the podcast and getting access to the after show and cool merch,
Mm-hmm.
t-shirts, stickers, all kinds of stuff
Mm-hmm.
by going to patreon.com/offthecutpodcast.
I think in the last after show we talked conspiracy theories for like 45 minutes. So that's if you want
Yeah.
access to that kind of content, it is
Unhinged.
unhinged.
That really is where we talk about things that we can't necessarily
Yes.
talk in a
100%.
public about.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'll talk about behind the scenes business deals. I know
Mhm.
we a couple episodes we talked about one where you gave me the go ahead on this one business proposition that I had.
Mhm.
And yeah, we have fun over there.
We do. We do.
But returning to support the show, returning top tier patrons, the original supporter himself, Scott Eastman at Eastie's Woodshop,
Mhm.
and Corey Duvall, which I think he told us we pronounced his name wrong, so I
Yeah.
think I fixed it.
Okay, I was gonna say, is that the correct pronunciation?
I don't know.
Okay. Well,
I bet my mom. He said it was Italian, so maybe my
okay.
mom. I asked my mom how to say it, and I bet she could come up with some snooty way to say it.
I was gonna say, is your mom Italian? And then I realized no, she probably just
No.
vacationed there once.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else we got? Oh, you know what I just did right before we got on the podcast? Speaking of
that?
that table driving me absolutely bananas.
Hmm.
So because that glue up didn't go perfectly, I had glue all over the place. I'm like, this table is going to take years for me to sand.
Yeah.
I finally broke down
Oh.
and got my new sander.
Oh. Which
Yeah.
one did you end up going with?
So my thought was, I know at some point I'm going to want the Rotex,
Yep.
the Festool Rotex.
Yep.
So I was like, I could get their typical or their regular random orbit one that's effectively the exact same as your
Yeah.
Merca.
Hmm.
But I was like, I'm going to want the Rotex at some point.
Yeah.
Why don't I get the Rotex first? Because it's going to be drastically different than the sander I have
Yep.
now.
Yep.
Functionality and size.
Yep.
Excuse me. And then get the regular 6-inch random orbit sander once I kick my 5-inch out.
Yeah, I think that's I would probably follow a similar trajectory on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
did you get the 6-inch Rotex, the 180?
yes.
Cool.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
150.
Oh,
RO
150.
150.
Okay.
But I helped you out because I
Oh.
knew this was going to be a big purchase.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to one of your videos, clicked on one of your affiliate links, and bought it all through all your affiliates.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I was like, somebody's got to get some money for this because I can't for anybody listening, I can't affiliate link myself.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
the
you could,
red flag.
maybe you could if you ordered it with your girlfriend's credit card or something like that.
Yeah, but that's a huge red flag
Yes.
for anybody doing this stuff. But
Yeah.
so I bought the sander, and
Oh,
then I was like,
baby.
well, I gotta get the dust extractor too.
Oh, yes, you do.
And then
It,
I was like, well, I gotta get the bags for the dust extractor too, and I gotta get the Bluetooth remote for the dust
yeah.
extractor.
Yeah.
And I want to get the other like interface pad that makes it like perfectly flat. So they
Oh,
have different like foam pads on them to make your sander basically softer or harder. So I
yes.
got the really hard one, which they said is phenomenal for like leveling
Mm-hmm.
surfaces because it won't like dip and make a
Yes.
crater.
Yeah.
Dude, how much all in do you think this was?
The carry the 3. It's got to be close to $3,000.
So
N-
US, I mean, yeah, US,
Okay, maybe
Canadian.
2,500.
It was only $1,900.
Oh, okay. God.
But I was like,
My currency's
damn,
so bad.
for a effing sander, it
Mm-hmm.
was $2,000.
Well,
Like,
look,
oh my! I didn't
the
even get the sandpaper yet.
true. That dust extractor is going to change your life. That Bluetooth remote is the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah.
And it'll pay for itself.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. And
And
plus, you get to sell your old sander, or you get to sell your old shop vac, and then you recoup
For
some costs there.
$15.
Yeah, and I'll give
Some
you
of those stupid rigid ones.
I'll give you a kickback on the affiliate money too. I'll send
Yeah.
you an Amazon gift card for like $30.
No, just try to bump me up that list on that CNC.
Oh yeah, true. Oh man, so okay, so I spent all of yesterday getting the new CNC set up, which I'm very excited about because this thing is fast.
Yeah, I saw it on your stories.
Yeah, it
That's
boogies,
quick.
man.
That was not sped up. That was real speed.
That was real speed, and that was driving a leveling bit. And if you've never seen one of those leveling bit, the head on it is like
Boys are big.
3/4 inches, right?
Yeah.
So it was boogieing. So I got that all set up. So my buddy wants my old one. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, like as soon as the new one comes in, I'll give you the old one. I message him. I'm like, hey, the new one's in. You want this old one? He's like, yeah, I do want it. And then I was like, okay, like when do you want to come get it? Radio silence. And then I messaged him again. I like sent him a photo of it. It's like, it's here. It's waiting for you. He's like, man, I really need to make some space in my shop. And there's a lot of delays. So we'll see. You might be moving up the list.
All right. Well, just let me know. Like I said, no pressure. I'm
Mhm,
just
mhm.
just keep me in mind
Yes, I will
because
for sure.
I'll make it worth your while.
All
But
right.
the new one,
Yes.
how's it working?
I
Well?
haven't used it to cut anything yet. Tomorrow's going to be my first day of
Okay.
cutting. So Monday was all about fabricating a new steel frame to
Mhm.
suspend it. So I had to do a bunch of welding, bunch of grinding, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And then today was getting it in place and getting it all calibrated. You have to make sure the bed of it is perfectly level and
Well, yeah.
also perfectly flat. So I was
Yeah.
doing that. I was getting all the sensors hooked up. It's funny. So I actually won't be able to use the full capacity of it because it's so big. It takes up the whole corner of my shop, and I have it jammed right against the wall, but the back of it, the motor actually overhangs the unit itself. So if I go all the way to the limit, the
Oh.
motor smashes against the wall. So it's not that big of a deal at the end of the day. It just means that I can't use like the last 3 inches of the bed. But it's like, I could not fit a bigger machine there if I tried. There's like, that is the absolute limit of CNC for me.
So here's the first thing that came to mind, and shoot me down. Tell me you've already thought about this.
Okay.
Have you thought about putting it on like super heavy duty drawer slides so you could basically, when you need to, pull the unit out a couple inches?
Yeah, that's
I have
definitely a
no idea if
potential.
that'd work.
That's a potential for sure. Yeah, yeah, I don't see why not. The only issue with that is the drawer slides would add a little bit of height to it, and it's already
Really
kind
high.
of getting uncomfortably high because this one's taller than my old
It's
one
like
is.
chest height where the
Yeah,
table is, right?
yeah, it's the bottom of it's 48 inches, so the top of it's probably like 52, like the actual work surface is probably like 52 inches high
Yeah,
or something.
that's tall.
Yeah, it is tall. And I did that because I wanted to get my tools, like my planer, my jointer, and my drum sander underneath it when I'm not using
Yeah.
them. So yeah, but that's not a bad idea. Honestly, with the old one, I used to just rationalize it as, hey, if I really need to, I can just pull it off the shelf, put it on a table and use it.
Sure.
With a new one, that's not an option.
Yeah.
It's
Well, this new one, yeah, I'm assuming it showed up through freight, right? They had to freight
yes.
deliver it,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah.
That was the holdup.
Yes. So yeah, it got stuck at the border for a long time. Then it got freighted in. Then it arrived, and I start unpacking it. And the very first thing you see when you open the box is like, "Don't try and set this up alone." So I had to get on the
You're
phone. I
like,
called my dad, like, "Hey, Dad, do you want to help me come set up my new my new toy?"
he's like, no, leave me
Yeah,
alone.
yeah, no, not really.
Now, how does he feel about CNCs? Will he be into it?
He's getting into it. I think he's warming up to the idea. I mean, he's a boomer, so technology scares him. But he really wants to make a guitar on it. So I think that's
Oh,
a project that I'll probably do with him at some point. Maybe make that into a little video too. Um, but yeah, he does a lot of cabinetry too. So I was like, Dad, you could like cut entire drawer faces or like cabinet door faces on it and stuff like that. So I think he's warming up to it. He's warming up to it.
I'd like it. I mean, the guitar thing would be really cool to see. I know
Yeah.
tons of people build guitars, and
Yes.
there's tons of like guitar content out there,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Would he ever be interested in like doing a collab with you on a YouTube video, or is he like, get the camera away from me?
I think he's more like get the camera away from me type.
Yeah. That's how
Yeah.
my parents would be for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is fair enough. I mean, he doesn't it's a little bit of a weird thing. Like I chose to like try and be in front of a bunch of people like making videos, but it's another thing to just like thrust that onto somebody, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
know I know Miranda always gets a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, right?
But she's
So,
been in like she's been in a large
yeah.
handful of my videos and stuff.
Do you ever get any like has there ever been any like negative like anybody ever like left a bad comment or something like that?
Oh,
Like that
because she was in it?
yeah, just like that would like dissuade her from wanting to do it again.
No.
No, okay,
No, I
good, good.
genuinely don't think I've ever gotten anything. I've gotten more positivity than anything. People are like, "Oh, it's so cool to see like a boyfriend girlfriend duo or
Yeah,
like see another girl into this woodworking thing." Because
yeah.
there aren't a ton of female woodworking content creators. There
It's true.
definitely are some, but
True.
I would say it's a substantially less amount than the males.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like there's Tamara from 3 by 3.
Mhm.
She's the
There's April Wilkerson.
yes, yeah, she's huge too.
Mhm.
Who else is there? She's the carpenter. Is her name Sam?
I think so.
Yeah.
And there's Sam DIY Huntress.
Yes. Yeah. Oh.
Was that who
Oh.
you're thinking about? I
Yeah.
know she's a carpenter, is the blonde girl, but I can't think of her name off the top of my head. I'm
Yeah.
terrible with names.
I'm so bad with names too. I know handles and not names, which I think makes me a bad person. Like I know people's like Instagram handles and like their YouTube channel names and stuff like that. But
To me, it's whatever I see more often.
yeah.
So like if somebody's messaging me and I constantly am getting their screen name,
Hmm.
then I'll remember like their username or whatever. But if I'm getting their name,
Yeah.
then I remember their name, but not
Yeah.
their username.
Yeah.
So they might leave a comment and I'm like, I don't know who this is.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are just too many people to try to keep track of it all.
It's true. I mean, what's the they say Dunbar's number? Like everybody only has a capacity for like 150 people. Like to have
Oh
a conceptual
gosh.
model of like people that exist in your life, right? Like you have your family, your friends, so that's probably like 20, 30 people right off the bat. And then you have 120 other people, and probably most of those are celebrities you see on TV.
I
So
never thought about that.
yeah, it's there's a limit to like human cognition and memory, so it makes sense, right?
Huh. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of people's names,
Mm-hmm.
let's hit some questions from people
Okay.
that have names.
Okay. I like this.
All right. Let's find one. I'm not even reading the question anymore. I'm just picking one and that's what we're going for.
Okay.
N Square Woodworking wants to know, how did you gather up the courage to start woodworking?
Oh. I honestly thought that question was gonna say, how did you gather the courage to get on camera and do
That's where I thought
woodworking?
it was going to.
Yeah, the woodworking is like that's I don't know. For me, it's always been kind of natural. Like I guess so. I take it for granted because I think I've told you this. Like I've basically been building stuff for as long as I can remember. It
Yeah.
was like for me it was like a fun thing to do when I was 5 years old. I used to play with like the scraps in my dad's wood shop, right?
Oh.
So I don't know. It was like it's always been kind of like a play thing for me. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't really think of it as like particularly courageous or anything like that. But well, I guess you have a little bit of a different like you came into it later in life.
Yeah.
S-
So and if you want to know the entire story around this, I think that was what our entire first episode
Yeah, true.
was about, right? Abbreviated was I took woodshop to try to avoid having to take a global language in high
Hmm.
school. And then I was like, this is sweet.
Yeah.
But my curiosity with it kind of stemmed be with I always enjoyed building things like Legos and
Yeah,
like
me
building
too.
forts
Yeah.
and kinds of stuff like that when I
Yeah.
was a kid. And this was like more of like the adult appropriate way
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
like play with Legos,
Mhm.
basically.
Yeah, you
Right?
can't be in your late 20s building forts all the time. So
No. And then the other thing for me is I've never really been afraid to like just completely F something up and fail
yeah.
at it. Like
Yeah.
somebody's like, "Hey, do you want to try I don't like make something up. Do you want to try racing dirt bikes? I've never done that." I'd be
Yeah.
like, "Sure,
Hell yeah.
let's go for it." But
It's
I'm not the whole time I'm there, I'm not thinking, "Oh my god, if I'm not perfect at this, I'm going to be so mad." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not going to be great at this, but I'm excited to work and get better at it."
yes. I agree with you in large part. I found that there are certain things in my life where I'm like incredibly scared of being bad. Like for
Oh,
example, like dancing. Like going out and like publicly dancing would be terrifying for me.
yes.
But there
So,
but
so you refuse to dance with Sophie.
yeah, I don't refuse. Like I try and be a little bit better than like nobody likes the guy who's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. But
Yeah.
I
It's a
you know,
10
my
out of 10 awful for you.
yeah, exactly. My palms start sweating. I'm like, oh man, everybody in this
Mom
room is
spaghetti.
yeah, exactly. But your example of like, okay, so I know how to ride motorcycles, but like I've never ridden, I don't know, like a jet ski. Somebody was like, hey, you want to race
Oh,
jet
yeah.
skis? I'd be like, hell
You're like,
yeah,
"Let's
like
do it."
let's do it. So there are limits to like what I'm comfortable being bad at.
You wanna know what happened the first time I rent a raced or not raced, rode a jet ski?
Yes, please.
Did I tell you the story?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So, one of my good friends, I used to go to the beach with with his family every single year for
Hmm.
vacation. We'd go down to North Carolina, and we were maybe in high school, might have been like freshman year of college or whatever.
Okay.
And one day, his he and his sister were like, "Hey, mom, can we go rent jet skis?" And his mom goes, "Yeah, sure, no problem." She's like, "Find a place, we'll go do it." And so I've never been on a jet ski, and I'm
Yeah.
pumped, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
We we go there, you have to do this like miniature, like 10 or 15 minute like boating class or whatever. You get your fake boater's license.
Sure.
and we get the jet skis out there. And I'm like, dude, this is the coolest, craziest thing I've ever done in my life. So you're out there for about an hour. We're like 45 minutes in, and I'm like just ripping this thing around, going like 45, 50 miles an hour, just gunning it, doing some turns and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, having a blast. And I'm in front of people, like, so his sister and him are behind me. So I'm just like, I'm going for it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I've got nothing for me to worry
yeah,
about if I don't hit anything.
yeah.
Well, I'm doing turns, and then I remember hearing like this big bam. And then I remember being in the water. Like,
Okay.
I think I literally,
Yes.
like, blacked out for a couple
Yeah,
seconds.
yeah. The classic crash. Like you never remember the actual like. You just
No.
remember something happening, and then like
Yeah.
3 seconds later, you kind of come
And
back
then
to.
so then my buddy, I just remember, like, being in the water looking up. My buddy was like, "Dude, are you okay?" And I was like, "What just happened?" And he says, "You cut me off."
Oh.
And but if I'm in front of you, I have the
Yeah,
right of
yeah,
way, right?
yeah, yeah.
So he hit me. He said I literally was holding on to the handlebars the whole time, and, like, my feet just, like, flipped over me, like, I literally flipped over.
Oh man, wow.
And so, the way a jet ski or any boat works is it's submerged in the water, right?
Hmm.
So, like, a third of it you can't see. And so just see this little, like, trim piece that's, like, basically, like, rubs on the dock when you get there or whatever, and, like,
Yeah.
that's a little jacked up.
Hmm.
So we're thinking like, we still got like 15 minutes or so left. Why don't we just continue riding?
Probably fine.
Or yeah, we should be fine. I
Yeah,
mean, we don't want to waste this money. Like we're already screwed,
yeah.
right? As far as the jet skis go. Like, why don't we just maximize the time and then deal with that later?
Hmm.
So we get to the dock and the guy instantly goes, "What happened?" Like the guy that worked there.
Yeah.
And then my buddy just goes, "Oh, we just kind of bumped into each other a little bit." And we're
Hmm.
like, "Okay, like we'll get the paperwork and like fill the thing out or whatever." But he was like, "What we had to do is we got to get the lift and basically lift it totally out of the water, just inspect the whole frame to make sure there's nothing else."
Yeah.
They lift it out, and dude, as it's coming out of the water, you see this you see, like, the little frame bumper rail thing bent, and you're like, "Oh, that's bad. Oh, wow, that's really bent." And then it's white jet ski,
Hmm.
and then you start to see a little black, and we're like, "What is that?" And as they come out further and further out of the water, this black spot just gets bigger and
Oh
bigger and
no.
bigger until it's fully out of the water. Dude, it was close to the size of, like, a soccer ball size hole in the
Oh
back of this
no.
jet ski. I don't know how this thing didn't sink.
Yeah, that's a good point. What do you think made the hole? Was it like your friend's jet ski, or was it you going over the handlebars and then hitting
No,
it
it
on
was
the
in the
way back?
back. It was in the
Oh, it's in the
back. So
back.
the nose of his jet ski literally just went through my jet ski.
Oh, I see. Okay, well that's totally his fault then.
Right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, if
He'll
you rear
never
end
admit it.
somebody with your car, it's like it's their, it's the person who does the rear ending's fault.
Yeah, and it's not like I'm on a jet ski and I can just rip the brake and have somebody
Yeah,
like, I'm turning and stuff, and he
yeah,
was probably just full throttle, like, trying to pass me or something,
yeah.
right? And just absolutely nailed me. So, then his dad shows up because 'cause they're
Hmm.
like, "Hey, we gotta call your parents because I don't even think we were 18 at the time.
Right. Okay.
So they're like, "We gotta call your parents." And his dad comes by, and dude, I have never seen his dad look so pissed off.
Oh
But
no.
here's the thing,
Yeah.
his dad was pissed off at the jet ski guy, not
Right.
me or his son.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Well. Well. Okay. Yeah. I can kind of see. I mean, if you're gonna go, like, if you don't want to pay for a jet ski, like, better to be mad at the at them, right?
I guess, yeah.
So, well, as you were telling the story, this reminded me of a story that happened to me. So, I was probably not dissimilar in age. I think I was like 19 or maybe 20. And me and my friends, we went to. Have you ever heard of the Mountain Whistler? It's like a big
Oh,
mountain.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool place.
So we went to Whistler in the summertime, and
Okay.
we signed up to do an ATV tour. So basically, you get on ATVs, you go out with a guide, and they take you with 12 other people, and they kind of show
Yeah.
you around the mountain. You go up the mountain. Me and my friends, 19, 20, a lot of testosterone flowing around.
Oh
So we're
yeah.
like, hey, let's hold back. Let's let the tour go ahead,
And then just rip it.
and then we just rip as hard as we possibly can. So we were doing that. And then we get to the top of the mount, the top of Whistler, as far as you can go on roads. And then we're coming back down. So we're essentially racing downhill on these like twisty mountain roads. So I go around a corner and I get a little sideways on the ATV. Like I do a little drift. And I was like, oh my God, that's scary. Cause drifting on a little machine like that is not comfortable. And then I noticed my other friend come flying around the corner. He's trying to pass me. He goes fully sideways,
Oh,
like
no.
90 degrees. He rolls his ATV down the side of the mountain. And so he does a Superman jump, like arms out in front,
Oh.
lands in the ditch on the side of the road. Like I honestly thought he was dead until I saw his fist go up from the side of the road. Like I'm okay.
I'm okay.
ATV
Oh
probably
my
does like
God.
5 or 6 tumbles or something like that. So I go over to him. I'm like, are you okay? Are you okay? He's fine, miraculously, like, a little bruised up or whatever, but like no broken bones. And we immediately start trying to pull his ATV. We're like, we got to get this thing out of here before the tour company finds
They're
out
not
about it.
light.
No, they're not. And, we couldn't even flip it over. We were so
No.
screwed. So, at a certain point, the tour guide comes back looking for us. And we're like, we are in
Oh.
so much trouble. We are so screwed right now. We're like, this is gonna ruin our West Coast road trip. And at a certain point, we realized the tour guide was terrified. They didn't want to get in trouble for like not
Oh.
supervising us.
Yeah,
enough.
yeah.
So we had this like standoff of like who's gonna be in trouble, like who's so.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they just like they took an incident report from us and nothing else came of it. So I mean,
Okay.
we were definitely in the wrong. If anybody from that tour company is still listening to this right now, I'm sorry. It was not a good thing we were doing, but we were young and dumb, and we got in zero trouble for it. Didn't even have to pay. Like I'm sure there was insurance included in the fee or whatever. But they were just like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" Like, "Oh, please don't sue us. Please don't sue us." Like,
Oh, so they didn't even make you pay like some sort of like $100 deductible
No.
or like something like
no,
that.
nothing.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can roll
Okay.
an ATV and get away with it as long as the person who owns the ATV is more afraid of you suing than they are worried about getting the, funds for the ATV.
I
repair.
didn't even, and I'm sure you guys weren't even thinking about that.
Oh God, no. We were terrified. We were like, we're going to go to jail in Whistler. It's going to be horrible.
Uh-oh.
Like, yeah.
Oh, that was another time you thought you were gonna go to jail.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I was going to go to like the ski jail.
The stuff we do as kids, man. Good,
Oh, I
good
know.
stuff, though. Good
I know.
stuff. Well, did that? You think that sufficiently answered how to get the courage,
Yeah.
courage to start woodworking?
Yeah, once you race a couple like alternative
Jet skis,
vehicles,
yeah,
jet skis, ATVs, woodworking doesn't seem so bad in comparison.
No, and I don't think you can go to jail from woodworking.
No, I don't think so.
All right,
All right, what else you got?
This let's do some round. Maybe these will be some round robins.
Okay.
We don't have a name. Biggest project you've ever built?
Well, I've built houses.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Houses.
Yeah.
Okay. Other than a house, maybe a standalone object.
Oof. I've built garages. What's a good stand? Oh, I've done some cool sculptures. I think I did it in the start of one of my videos. I made this big, probably like 12-foot by 7-foot. The galaxy table I did where it was a bunch of wood dowels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I helped my grandfather make a big undulating wave with those.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that was probably the biggest thing. We had to make that in like 5 or 6 pieces and then like assemble it on site. And that was a lot of fun. Yeah. What about you?
I like that.
Dining table?
Biggest one, probably this dining table. It's
Yeah.
almost so like the way I'll make all my panel glue ups is if I need it to be, it's supposed to be 72 inches long.
Yeah.
But I'll make it at like
80.
76 or
Yeah, sure.
80. That way, like when I'm running through the planer, like I don't even care if I get snipe.
Yeah.
And then I just, maybe if I mess up my base and my base is a little bit bigger, I'll just trim the tabletop to fit later. And if
Mhm.
it's half inch bigger in one dimension, who cares?
Yep. That's a good
So I
way to
would
do it.
say probably the tabletop. And oh my God, dude, I had a friend reach out to me or family friend, I guess,
Okay.
reach out to me this morning asking me like, "Hey, I just got a house thinking about having a dining table built." And as soon as
No.
they said that, I'm like, dude, if she asked me to build a dining table that's bigger than 72 inches, it's no effing way."
You should offer to sell her the one you're working on now,
I thought about it.
and then you have like all the experience you learned while making that one. You can make yourself a nicer one.
Yeah. Well, so what I basically said, as I said, send me some inspiration pics to give me an idea of what you're looking for,
Hmm.
and can you tell me what your budget is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the lumber alone for the table that I'm building for myself
Yeah.
was 960 some dollars. So if
Yeah.
somebody tells me, "Oh my," and again, if you're a $1,500 dining table, it's not a cheap table.
No, not at
But
all.
if you're asking me to build you a $1,500 dining table, it's no,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
I mean, $1,500 is a lot for like a machine produced
Yeah,
dining table. Good luck finding anybody who will make you like a handmade table
exactly,
for
exactly.
that kind of
And so I
price.
just don't know what the budget is, and
Yeah,
that's why I always ask that ahead of time.
yeah, that's great advice. You know, you not believe the amount of times, even now, I've gone through like all the hassle of like planning out a project. Somebody will be like, "Oh, can you do like, how about, can you make this table for me?" And I won't even think to be like, "Well, are you sure you can afford it?" Essentially,
Yeah,
which is what you're asking with that question, right? And you
yeah.
go like, I've spent hours with them designing, and then they're like, "Okay, so how much do you think it's going to cost to build this?" And then I'll say some number. They'll be like,
Oh,
"Oh,
1,500 bucks, and you're like, "Oh,
yeah."
I was thinking more like 400."
Exactly, exactly. So
So
that
I had that same thing. One of my buddies, let's see how well this came.
oh no, you just completely
Oh, hold
disappeared.
on.
Yeah, you
Hold
gotta
on.
get rid of the
Stand by.
background.
Stand by. No background. So what I'm gonna try to do is visual effects, no visual effects.
There we
My
go.
buddy sent me this picture here.
What am I
So
looking?
to describe it to people, it's like this metal
Oh,
bin, and on the side of it, it has like a bunch of football
mm-hmm,
logos. It's for a Cleveland Browns football team,
mm-hmm.
and it's like a metal bin, but it's like a fire pit.
Oh, okay,
And
cool.
he said, "Hey, like I'm having like some baby party thing. I guess when you have babies, you have like a guy only party or something. I don't know."
Okay, sure.
But he's like, "Could you make this for me out of wood?"
Yeah.
And I know, just because I know him, um, I know that what he's looking for, basically just like, this would be a really cool like party thing, like not looking to spend a lot of money on this. I know
Mm-hmm.
that it doesn't have to be of quality. He just wants it to like look like the thing.
Yes.
I mean, even to make a poor version of that, like have it look decent,
So,
you're still talking several $100.
I mean, it's still gonna be like basically a full day for you, right? Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I
yeah,
told him, I was like, "Oh yeah, man, I could definitely do that. Just that's gonna be pretty labor intensive. Just give you a rough idea. It's probably gonna be around $600."
yeah,
And the response was, "Okay, I'll let you know,"
yeah, yes,
which is no.
classic. Yes,
So,
yes, yeah.
but I could have wasted so much time like, "Oh, where's this gonna be? How big's it gonna be?" Get that number out
Mm-hmm,
of the way from the get-go, because
mm-hmm.
if you don't, then you're just gonna waste so much time.
Yeah. Can I ask you what he was planning to do with it? Because you
He
said that's
wanted to hold gifts in it,
oh, okay,
and then I'm
very
sure he
interesting.
would never use the thing again. So, like I
Yeah,
told you, probably like $40 is
yeah,
what he was looking
yeah.
for.
You described this to me as a fire pit, and I was like, he's gonna be in trouble if he thinks he's gonna make it out
Yeah.
of wood and still use it.
But even if you wanted to build that thing with your CNC,
Mm-hmm.
you still are gonna it's gonna you're gonna have
Yeah,
to buy a whole sheet of plywood, all
yeah,
the time that goes into designing
y-
it and cutting it.
yeah.
I mean, even with the CNC, you're still talking minimum several $100.
Yes. Oh, the time you would have to take to like if you want to cut the football teams in it, like
Yeah.
think about like you're gonna have to go get the logos. You're gonna have to make a bunch of cut maps on like yeah. I don't even know that I would do it for less than 600 to be honest with you.
And that was basically like, is this gonna be like, "Hey, this is like my baby gift to you," basically, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're still paying me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But all right. Most complex project.
Oh. Well, I mean, again, I've built houses,
A
so
house.
that's yeah. Uh, but I don't know. That's a good question.
Maybe the one that like you felt like stumped by the most or hit so many
Oh,
roadblocks.
my hammock frame.
Oh
So
yeah.
so many complex angles that I didn't even know how to calculate a lot of them, right? So I was like, okay, let me sit down and like figure this out before I hit the shop. And I
Yeah.
quickly realized I was like, I don't know how that piece intersects with that piece. And I don't know how to figure that out. I even tried doing it in like 3D modeling software. And I just really ran up against the limits of my skill. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to kind of make it by feel in the shop. So I'd like, shave 1 degree off, shave 1 degree off. Okay, now that lines up. Okay, let's go over
Yeah.
here. So it took a while, and thank God it's all metal, so that I could, when you're welding metal together, you can kind of fudge the angles. You only have to be like within a degree or so, and then you
And you
could
can fill it with the beads too.
exactly. That's what I mean. Is like if you're close, if you're in the right ballpark, then you can kind of fill it in and then just grind it smooth.
Ugh.
Yeah. What about you?
Trying to think what I ran into the most problems with.
Yeah.
Probably that the where I tried to make that carved table that Miranda carved into and then cover
Yeah.
that thing with epoxy. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
that was a nightmare.
Yeah. That's tough.
But that's a perfect example of like one of those things that you do, and after you fail at it, you can think of 1,000 different ways that you could have succeeded.
Yes, 100%. That's the nice thing about failure is it's a great teacher. Like it sucks. Like when you're looking at this, you're like, oh my god, like Miranda spent hours carving this. I prepped
Oh,
it
I felt
all.
horrible.
Yeah, and it's like, but you're like, okay, how can I make sure that this never happens again?
Yeah.
It's one of the most powerful teachers. So try to next time, everybody listening, next time you fail at something, try to remember that. You'd be like, okay, I'm not gonna let this happen again, and this is a very expensive lesson in that.
And that's half the reason why I continued to put that video out is
Yeah,
like for me, just like harping on it myself would make
yeah,
me never make that mistake again.
yeah,
And I got tons of people who are like, hey, I really appreciated the fact that you showed this monstrous failure.
for sure, for sure. I try and anytime there's like a big roadblock that I hit in a video, I try to include it and then the solution
Oh yeah.
because I feel like that's some of the most valuable content.
But
It's
like if you're cross cutting and you're like, oh, I have a little tear out, like I'm not
yeah,
gonna uh,
yes, yeah, yeah,
talk about that.
yes,
But like if you literally failed
yeah.
at something, of course I'm gonna talk about that.
If there's a way that I can make it useful for somebody else, like like if my hand slipped and it's like, okay, that cut wasn't perfect, let me go get another piece of wood and do it again, that won't make it in the video. But if something fails and it's like, okay, and then I came up with a solution by combining these two other things to make it work, it's like that's interesting.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure, sure.
yeah.
Let's see. So tangentially,
Hmm.
are there any projects that maybe you had failed or you didn't fail, but you just didn't do great on or as well as you could have that you
Oh,
would want to tr- try a go? I'm assuming that means again slash
again.
do over.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the end of every project, I'm like, well, then I could improve this, and that.
Yeah,
Um, I really want to remake. This isn't even. I really want to remake my TV stand.
I
Um,
like that TV stand a
I do
lot.
too. I do too. But there's like things about it where I'm like, oh, like if I had a full SPAC in it, I could hide all the wires, or
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, oh, it might look a little neater if I had like a little like spot to like mount a speaker or something like
So
that.
it's like fine finishes, fittings of
Yeah.
things that you would want to change.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
get that.
Yeah, and it's just like an evolution of the design too. Like you make something and always at the end of it you're like, "Oh, dang, I could have done this a little bit differently and it would have been so much better." And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
If I weren't in the content game and this was 100% a hobby of me just making my own stuff, I would say I would, on a lot of things, probably make like very rudimentary mock ups or prototype versions of things before I would ever,
Mm,
like this dining table, for example.
yep.
Maybe I would make it out of poplar or
Yeah.
plywood. Maybe just
Yep.
like mock up the base out of plywood
Oh, 100%.
and then go for the real thing. But dude, if I did that, I would never get anything done.
I know. Well, it depends like it's always a balance of like if I screw this up, how bad is it going to be versus how long will it take me to make a prototype, right?
Yeah.
You know, like if it's going to take you just as long to make a prototype as it would to make the real thing, and like even if you screw up the real thing, it's not that big a deal. It's like don't bother with the prototype then, right?
Yeah.
But like again, going back to that hammock, when I was making that, and before I cut it all in steel, I cut it out of 2x4s.
Yeah.
So I figured out all the angles using 2x4s. I was like, okay, now I have this like cut list, and now I'm gonna move over to metal and do it there because metal's harder to work with, obviously.
Yeah.
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 So
And substantially more expensive.
yes, that as well. That's very true.
All right. So this is the next. We're knocking some of these fast ones out.
Yeah, we're moving good.
This one is probably more geared towards you, but I can jump in on this
Okay.
one. Are there any DIY? I guess everything you do in a house would be DIY because you're doing it
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Any DIY home projects that you've done that you wish you hadn't and you called in a pro or someone else to do it?
Yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff that I just don't want to do because it kind of sucks.
You just sub it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like anything to do with like concrete work, I usually just sub out because it's like it's backbreaking labor. It's not particularly satisfying when it's done.
Heavy.
Heavy. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Like, obviously, like the professional, like the stuff where you need a license, like HVAC,
Yeah.
plumbing, electrical, stuff like that. I'd usually leave that to pros. Um, I don't know. I'm pretty willing to just jump in and DIY most things though. But that's speaking as me, right? Like, you know, whenever we have a plumber on site, I'm like looking over his shoulder, like, oh, why does that connect to that? Oh, okay, yeah. How
Yeah,
do you
yeah,
connect
yeah.
those? So I'm constantly like prodding these guys and asking questions for like when I go home and do it myself.
You're like,
Um,
oh, could I do this myself or do I need to call somebody?
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I watched Tony the plumber do it, like, and that's not a racial stereotype. My plumber's name is actually Tony.
I didn't think it was, but you got to cover your bases.
Yeah,
You
I gotta
never
cover
know.
my bases. I'll be like, oh, I've watched him change like faucets a million times. So now I feel like I can do it myself.
I was trying to think. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I think.
Um.
Oh, I know one for me.
Yeah. Okay. Good one.
So when I was in college, and it's actually fun. That's why it was so interesting about your tiling thing that we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That your patrons on your Patreon page already have seen the video.
Yes, they
I
have.
still haven't watched it yet. It's
Oh.
on my list because I'm so far behind on things I gotta watch. But um, so when I was in college, my sister and I lived in apartment together, and the shower it was like a tile shower with a grout and stuff, and it was just
Mhm.
like old and cracked. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna redo this, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is gonna be a blast,
Yeah.
right? But I was only gonna redo the grout.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm gonna get, and again, this is me having never done any of this. I was like, I'm gonna get a manual
Oh no.
grout tile saw. And
Yeah.
it's like a toothbrush that you have to
Yes.
try to hack all that grout
Yeah.
out. Dude, I spent probably 2 days trying to remove the grout.
Grout's
And
surprisingly tough.
and when you do that, you know that I'm also chipping the
Oh.
tiles
Oh
too.
hell yeah, you are. Yeah.
Okay. So I do this, I get all the grout out, and then I'm like, all right, now I'm going to go put new grout in. Well, of course, I'm trying to do it on the cheap. So I was like, okay, pre-mixed grout versus not pre-mixed grout. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I get the bag of grout.
Hmm.
But then I just kind of put it in a bucket, throw some water in there, and I'm like, I don't know how thick this should
Yeah.
be.
Toothpaste,
Long,
everybody.
yeah.
That's what you're
Long
shooting
story
for.
short, had way too much water in it.
Oh yeah, that's.
So I got it on there. I was like, it looks great. Got it all buffed out. I was like, oh, this is surprisingly easy.
Hmm.
It dries. And then within like a week or two later, it just starts chipping off
Oh no.
and flaking off. I was like, dude, this was such a nightmare. I should
Nightmare.
have never done this. And I've been afraid to tile ever since.
Yeah, I mean it's really easy to get scarred on a project, right? Like you do it once and then it makes you not want to do it again if it doesn't
Oh,
go
yeah.
well. Um one other one that you know, you can still DIY this one, but a lot of people, well, here's what happens a lot of time. I'll renovate somebody's home. Project always ends up costing more than what people think it is because everybody adds a million little things while I'm there working on their house. Like, oh, could you also redo these lights? Anyways, everybody gets to the end of the project, strapped for cash. Like, you know what? We'll paint ourselves. Painting
Oh,
is
no, dude, I'm paying somebody.
yeah, painting is surprisingly hard, and to do like a nice job is surprisingly hard. Like everybody's like, "Oh, I can paint."
Run
But
a roller on the wall.
yeah, oh man, I've done some work that I was really proud of that was then ruined by a very crappy paint job that the
Yeah.
client insisted on doing to save some cash at the end.
Do you wanna know a bad paint job? Look in our apartment because it's like the contractor grade paint where they're
Yeah.
just slapping up a new coat in between every tenant. Dude,
Yes. Yeah.
it's so this is my and I'm sure you'll agree with this. Never buy the cheapest paint you can
No.
find.
No, I'm actually pretty fanatical about
Oh.
buying the higher end paints.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
And so my dad worked for uh Sherwin-Williams for like 35 years,
Oh,
which is
nice.
you have them up in Canada. They're
Yep.
all over the
Yep.
world. Yeah. So they're like one of the there's like three or four like big premium paint
Yeah.
manufacturers. They're one of the premium ones, but he would always be like, "Oh, you got to get the expensive paint." And I was
Yep.
like, he's just saying that because he works
For
there,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
But dude, this paint in here is so bad that like if you like scuff or like mark up the wall, you're better off not trying to clean it because if you try to clean it, you literally remove the paint
Yeah.
and then it's just like this big horrible
Yes.
visual impairment over a small something.
I remember at my last place, there was like a scuff on the wall, and I grabbed like a microfiber cloth. I got a little bit damp. I was like, I'm just gonna
Remove
buff
the
out
paint.
this, remove the paint. Also, somehow left some of the color of the cloth on the wall. It was like a yellow cloth, and it somehow absorbed. I was like, great. So I went from like this little scuff to this stained area of like yellow, and also
Yeah.
I can see through to the drywall a little bit now.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
fantastic.
And then there's paint drips everywhere. They're
Yeah.
like hairs that are matted in the paint on the
Oh
walls.
yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's the
dude, it
worst.
is awful. Hire someone to do your painting.
Yes. Yeah. And also, man, if you've ever seen a professional painter paint,
It's
they'll
crazy.
they will like paint like a whole floor of a house in like an afternoon. And you're like, my God, it takes me like a day to do a room.
Yeah.
They just fly. It's insane. I have this painter that I work with all the time, and he can like freehand just like cut a perfectly straight line for like
Okay.
6 feet in the middle of the wall, like just like no laser level, no tape guide or anything like that. He'll just go like right across. It's insane.
I don't and is it steady hand? It's experience? I think it's
Yeah.
just like minute techniques of like, oh,
Yes.
I know how to hold this brush. I know how the bristles
Yes.
on this brush are
Yep.
gonna like behave and everything
Exactly.
like that.
You learn tricks like, like if you got to paint a straight line, don't try and like hold the brush like parallel like this. Brace your hand against the wall so that your hand's not jittering and then drag it across the wall. Look where you
Oh.
want to go instead of looking at the brush. There's all these little things that you just learn after years and years of doing something.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
So this brings me up to the next question. I think will be a good one.
Okay.
CM Square Woodworks
Mm.
wants to know what technique or tool took you the longest to get a handle on.
Hmm.
Actually, you know what? We're at an hour. We're at
Oh,
hour and three.
oh, teaser.
Should we save this one for the after show?
Yeah. Do we have anything really juicy to talk about that would be a better tease than this question?
I don't know.
I don't think
Do
so.
you?
Maybe I have a sponsor story that I want to run by you.
Ooh, so okay, this one's going on hold. We'll save this one for next week.
Okay,
So
okay.
give me a tease. What are we going to be talking about with the sponsor?
Just today, this potential sponsor kind of have you ever had a sponsor offer you a price and then agree to it? And
No,
then
they didn't. They changed their mind.
now they agreed to a price and now they're trying to say, well, would you do it for less? Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh man. Okay, I got to hear this.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So these are the kinds of stories that we talk about in the after show. We talk about all the behind the scenes, we get juicy, we get detailed, and we can
Mhm.
throw people under the bus if we feel like
A
it.
little bit, a little bit.
So if you want to see people get thrown under the bus, we're going to head over to the after show and you can join us by going to patreon.com/off the cut podcast.
Perfect. All
But
right,
if you
everybody.
don't like
Oh,
to hear juicy stories and you like to keep it G rated, We'll see you next week on the regular
That's
podcast.
true. That's true. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.
All right. Stopper here.
Alrighty.
Oh,
Stop the
how do I
recording.
export? I forget about the title.
Oh,
But
the
we'll
title.
talk about the after show.
Do we want to do it with the live stream, folks?
Oh, we could. Yeah. Let's see if they're still on here.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
still on here, I think. It says
So
6 people
what
still
did we
watching.
talk about? We talked about
Um,
macaroons. We talked about I got new festival stuff.
Oh no! Oh man, the
Great
time
nightmare.
the guys wrecked their ATV and jet skis. The time the guys crashed their pleasure crafts.
Oh, I like that where they crashed. Well, wait. I know the live stream's going to come through with this.
Yes.
The one where they crashed their expensive toys,
Oh yeah. Okay.
or they ruined their vacations.
The one where they
ruined-
crash other people's vehicles.
Oh, it's like they ruined people's vehicles. The time the guys got wrecked.
That's not bad. I like that. That's pretty
not
good.
bad.
That's pretty good.
Okay, I'm gonna write that where they let's see, got wrecked.